Now the center of weight of the vehicle is more towards the front, more towards the rear. So when they start working with the tools and start spreading, the car wants to fall open. At this point, there's absolutely no consideration to what you guys are going to be doing to the car later, all right? Right now, it's strictly patient management and making it easy. The concerns they have is if they're dealing with a C-spine injury, they're going to need to have a certain amount of care and reduce a certain amount of vibration on the vehicle. By having it blocked solid, the car will not shake. There'll be some noise and energy felt inside the car, but it will not be enough to move a person's head or to shake them up.
The next thing that happens is a stabilizer. You've got to have a paramedic or a first responder that gets in there with the patient. Because if, just as Pete said, if they're trying to immobilize the patient, there's a couple things you don't need. You don't need a patient that's panicked, because when you're panicked, your blood pressure goes up. And even though my brother's a paramedic, I go, what is it like to assess something so quickly in an accident scene? And my brother said, it's pretty simple. Air goes in and out, blood goes around, and you shouldn't see a lot of it. But the whole idea is the calmer you can keep somebody, you don't need them excited, which causes more problems, especially if they're bleeding. The other thing is you need somebody in there to calmly talk to them, to tell them something's going to happen. So what they'll do is that stabilizer will get behind the person and say, look, you're going to hear some loud noises. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to walk you through the process. I'm going to put a cloth over you. You're not dead. Okay, we're just putting this over you to keep your glass from getting in. That always raises the question, how long does it take to get them out? And it really matters on how hurt the person is, right? So if the person is unconscious, you want to get them out quick. Bang, bang, big noise is not going to startle a person that's unconscious. If someone's conscious, they will take a little bit more time in strategically trying to get you out because they're trying to keep you calm. So it is pretty nice to have somebody behind you telling you this is what's happening. You're going to hear a bang. Anybody that's, we've had, Stacy Bardnick, for example, yesterday, we had her in the car, and she told me that once you're covered, even though they told you everything's going to be fine, even though they told you there's going to be loud noises, she says it was kind of freaky to be in the dark and all of a sudden hear those noises. So the idea is to keep you calm.
Right, when you talk about the medic getting in the car, typically what they try to do is open up the very back rear deck window and slide them in the back. And the reason for this is that cars that have side impact airbags, they're not deployed, they don't want to be hanging around them. They don't want to be leaning through them, they don't want to be doing anything like that. In the initial phases, it's potential that even some of the tool vibrations, if we don't have the ignition shut off yet, that side airbag, side curtain could come down. And they come down with enough injury. I've seen a 200-pound dummy get lifted 3 inches off the ground. So it's going to hurt, and it's going to hurt a lot when they come across. So typically what they'll do then is we'll put somebody through the back, they'll shut off the ignition, that's probably the most important thing to making the car safe, and then from there they can go ahead and start addressing the interior of the vehicle. A lot of the cars now are electric seats, electric seat backs. A medic would go in there and start sliding that stuff back, seeing if they can loosen up the person that way and then make it easier to come out. Generally, 2 types of extrications these guys will work with. One is a priority 1 patient that's unconscious, unresponsive. An unconscious, unresponsive person got to get out right away. Other would be priority 2, 3, and 4s, and those would be the people who are conscious and responsive. They have time. Obviously, if their brain's working, that means there's blood perfusing. If they're awake, that means they have circulation, they have airway. If you're tired of sitting in a car, maybe they decided that you weren't the important one, they're working on 2 other cars ahead of you, I would start screaming and gasp mid-scream. Because as soon as you go quiet, they will immediately notice that. They will tune out the screaming. Screaming is like listening to a heart monitor go beep, beep, beep in an emergency scene. Screamer, 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 okay. All right? Non-screamers, unconscious, unresponsive, not okay. We check out those people. Screamers, you're fine. You're really pretty good. As a matter of fact, I don't want to get near a person who's screaming. So if I wait long enough, you'll calm down and you'll be easier to manage. So if you're, same thing in an emergency room, go in, start making a lot of noise, and they get very, very quiet. They'll jump right on you.
Some of the things that we, as you're watching what they're doing here, you see these these little Tinker Toy tools that they're working with. George, why don't you just pass one of those around so all of you get a little flavor of what the weight of these tools are, what they're like. This is what these guys have to use in order to open up these vehicles, in addition to the tools, the clothing, the heavy clothing that they're wearing as well. So this is not a game for unfit individuals. Okay, we need to be aware of that. If you noticed on the back corner over here, and the canister